Everyone, in today's video we're going to have a look at human factors within design. So this could actually fall under both of your exams. It could be in paper 1 or paper 2. I'll actually argue it's probably going to be in both a little bit. So what you need to understand is basically what factors can affect how a product is designed by designers, and then what the term inclusive design means. So first of all, what is inclusive design? So inclusive design is when a product or a space or a thing is designed to be as accessible or easy to use for as many people as possible without the need for special and adaptive design. So basically, what you want to try and do is make something that's going to be as usable for as many people, as many different types of people as physically possible. So designing in this way relies on the whole idea of user-centered design. So that's looking like user size, age, gender, background, ability, disability, all those sorts of things. So this theory sort of encompasses the whole idea of ergonomics, anthropometrics, user-centered design, iterative design, the whole idea that it's kind of an amalgamation, if I said that right, amalgamation, of like all the different ways of trying to design for a specific person. So typically, as a designer, who for the most part are able-bodied, there's no like major issues anyone's sort of dealing with in college. It's very difficult to design for users if you don't know what their ability levels are. So because of this, it's encouraged for designers, if you're going to design properly, is to take part in like a task analysis where you're trying to emulate the kind of restrictions that sort of people might face. So obviously for most people are more able-bodied, you haven't necessarily got like vision problems, audible problems, touch problems, mobility issues. So there are certain things you can do to sort of improve your understanding of the kind of issues that they'll come across. One example of that is something called a third age suit. So this is used by designers at Ford. So that's basically they're trying to ensure that the views of the older user with mobility issues are considered. So the idea being the suit will limit their mobility, specific joints, or impair vision. So just to show you what that looks like. So looks quite weird looking, but everything on there is designed to sort of try and put the kind of issues that a user may have at the forefront of you as you're designing. So that a designer should wear this and try and do a certain task to sort of understand the limitations of it. So if we stop down, so things like the straps we've got there is stooped posture. So someone that is a little bit older or has got certain injuries may not be able to stand up properly, so it'll sort of pull them down a little bit. Loss of hearing. So things like hearing and sight, obviously it's not a case of all or nothing. You either got perfect vision or you got no vision. It's completely a huge scale, and there's a massive amount of points on that scale. So it's just being aware of that. Same with vision. So you can have glasses that might distort your vision. I think I told you all already that basically before, when I was at university, I volunteered at a charity for blind people. And one of the first things they got us to do, because what you need to be able to do is know how to guide someone around a city centre, for example. One of the first things they got us to do is they blindfolded us and essentially took us out and walked around Leeds. Don't know if you know anything about Leeds. It's a very, very busy city. It's terrifying walking down a busy street around a busy city, and you can hear everything, but you can't see anything because you have no idea what's going on. And obviously, because you can't see, your other senses are a lot more emphasized. You hear sounds, you think it's right behind you all the time. So the whole point being was that what you should be doing is you're leading someone, is you're sort of giving them prompts of telling them what's going on. Oh, there's a motorbike coming by now, it's going to get very noisy. Okay, there's a group of 3 women walking across the road. There's someone playing football in the field next door to us. So little prompt like that is something that you wouldn't think about. You wouldn't think just walking down the street could be such a traumatic event, but if you've got no sight and you can just hear these sounds, it can be absolutely terrifying. You've got weighted vests, wrist weights, ankle weights, that sort of thing to sort of reduce the amount of strength you may have. Restrictive straps to stop people from being able to extend their arms. Obviously, if someone's got things like, I said architecture there, arthritis, they might not have full range of motion. That could be the same as well. I see there like elbow, knee joint stiffening and hand stiffening, and then limited step size. Actually, all that is sort of to show you that you will take for granted the fact that you can reach out, you can grab something easily, pick it up, everything like that. Someone may not be able to want to extend their arm properly, might not want to close, like grip properly around something and lift it up, won't have the strength to do things like that. So there are so many factors to consider when designing for someone. That the idea of this third age suit is just to sort of help you understand some limitations that there may be. This term, when designing this way, is called empathic design. So, with user-centered design, we've covered it a little bit before as well. So the whole point of it, the whole theory behind it, is if you're designing for a specific person, you should be involving them in that process as much as possible. Because obviously, the more you include them in that process, the more you see if something's going to work or not. And you also might use something like focus groups. So if you can see the images below, say if you're designing like a kettle, what you could do is get 5 to 10 people that like in the target market that you're designing for, get like 5 or 6 different kinds of kettles and just ask them to use them and film them or like, observe them using them, and then you can sort of identify what the issues they come across. Because even if they tell you, they might not necessarily know all the issues because they've just learned to cope with the issues. So it's sort of second nature to them. Whereas if you observe someone using something, it's a much better way of identifying any problems they may come across. So the design of things like hand tools. So be able to design anything that you use by hand does require you to have a good understanding of inclusive design, because if you design something poorly around the mechanics of the human body, if it causes like unwanted stress on joints or things like that, it makes it harder to work, so people will be slow to do it, or they'll just avoid the process at all. It's like if you take like left-handed people, if there's any left-handed people in the class, obviously most things are designed for right-handed people in mind. I can't remember what the percentage of people that are left-handed, but it's quite small. But obviously you're living in a right-handed world, and if you're using a right-handed product, it hurts quite a lot in your hands because everything's designed to go into the joints of fingers and hands of people that are using the opposite side. So it's just making sure that you understand how things can be designed specifically for these kind of people. So obviously, with scissors nowadays, you tend to have like these molded grips. Obviously now you can buy left-handed scissors, but it used to be. I had a friend that was left-handed. He still is. I don't know why I said was. He's not cured or something. It's not like a disease. But he has to like before he could buy them like mainstream. He used to just take scissors and have to use them upside down, which was just a whole massive pain. Okay, so why should designers bother trying to be as inclusive as possible? Like, what's the whole point? Why even bother trying to do it? So there's a couple of reasons why. One is obviously the more people your product can be used by, the more sales you're going to get, which means more money. Okay, and honestly, bottom line is every company needs to make money. So the more people that can use your product, the more people can buy it, more money. The second thing is that nobody likes to be excluded. People that are different, have different abilities, already know that they're different. Okay, if someone's got a disability or anything like that, they are aware of their limitations. Of course they are. Okay, but if you ask 99.9% of them don't want to be treated any differently. Okay, you may know someone that's got like poor hearing or poor eyesight, limited ability like in joints or anything like that. Normally, if you try and help them, say, I can do it myself. Okay, because they don't want, no one wants to feel outcast and different. Okay, everyone wants to feel like they can be included. It's a very like everyone wants to be part of like the whole like the gang. Basically, everyone wants to feel like they can participate in society. The second one really would fall under what's called like social, moral, ethical issues, which we will cover as a theory later on in the year. Um, but basically, some companies they care very greatly about their social, moral, ethical like views, and if you start excluding certain people, companies can get bad reputations. There was I can't remember what it was. There was a clothing company, Abercrombie and Fitch, maybe. So basically saying they, the guy came out, the like owner said came out. We don't make clothes for fat people because I think he said they only make like waist size jeans of up to like 32 inch or 34 inch, and that's like okay, you've just completely like alienated a huge amount of people, and basically they got a massive amount of backlash for it because that's not really considering the wider issues around people, and people are the one that pay for your products. So you've got tactile and audible responses. What I want you to do first of all, just imagine you've pressed a button. Okay, so that could be a light switch, that could be a like an app on your phone or your laptop or anything like that, and nothing happens. What's the first thing you do? You press it like 50 to 100. You just keep pressing it over and over and over again. there's a reason why when you press a button for the most time, you hear a click or a light turns on or something like that. Okay, that is basically a receipt to let you know something's happened. So if you hear a click or a small light comes on, it's helpful for us because if you press a button, even like light switches or anything, you press a click, and if something doesn't happen straight away, it might be that something's warming up. But when you hear that click, that lets your brain know going, okay, that button's been pressed, and then a few seconds later, it's like if you do certain light switches where the lights take a few seconds to come on because they're energy efficient. You press that button, it clicks. Okay, I pressed that, and then you know slowly it's going to come on. Or the light comes on, and then you know something else will happen. For us, that's quite useful, but it's actually there for another subset of people as well. So the click is there for visually impaired person. Okay, so if they've pressed a button, for example, and they can't see that something's happened, if they hear that click, they know it's been pressed. On the other side of that is a light turning on would let someone that has got like hearing issues know that it's coming. So they can't hear the click, but they can see a light happen. So this happens in quite a lot of everyday sort of products. So if you think like the example of Elf, Nearly Christmas, excellent movie. Light, press the button in the left, light comes on, lets you know you've pressed it, also clicks. Another everyday thing that most people will use in houses is a kettle. Okay, so many people, because we're in England, drink tea. But with your kettle, most people's kettles now, when you turn the kettle on, it makes a loud click, and then a light comes on, and then obviously like a minute and a half later, your kettle boils. But the fact that that click, that lets a visually impaired person know that it's turned on, and the light coming on lets the person that's pressed the button that can't hear the click see that's come on as well. So that's just a really simple way to include a whole nother group of people in a product, and it's not affected quote unquote able-bodied people any worse at all. Okay, but just those two little extra features have just included a whole nother group of people that can now participate in society a little bit more for another activity. So it's little things like that that make a huge difference to a whole uh, target market. There are also bits of inclusivity in design that you'll probably not even notice because it's just part of society. So you've got tactile flooring near crossings. That is there again for people with visual impairments. So that little bump, they know that there's a crossing there, so they know not to just keep on walking, because they know that's a road crossing. You also have braille used quite a lot in train stations. So you do have them on like the maps, so they can actually see where it is, but you also have them on the railings, so that if someone's like walking down the stairs and they got their hand on the railing, they can feel. So they go, okay, this is where platform 1 is. That's where platform 2 is. Okay, this is where the toilets are. That sort of thing. Also with your phones, when you've got voice commands, you've got Siri, all those sorts of things, that allows you to, like, if you can't type, we got like visual impairments, you can say, okay, Alexa, send this text, or Siri, write this text, or whatever it may be. With your phone as well, you can also change the lighting of it. So if someone's got colour blindness, you can make the font bigger. So if someone's got like some vision but not great vision, so you can change the fonts, make it massive, make it really small. You can still have those clicks on there. So there's all sorts of little inclusivities for everyday things for everyone. Okay, Pelican Crossing. Just have a think for a second. Any other features that you can think that include are there for inclusivity? Okay, so there's actually quite a few more than you think. So if we look in this picture, one, obviously, a light's come on. That's one. Two, the button clicks when you press it. That's two. Three, I don't know if you know this, at the bottom of those, there's actually something, a little widget that spins. Okay, that's there so if a visual impaired person can put their hand on that, they feel it spinning, and then when it stops, they know it's safe to cross. That's four. Wait, that's three. You've then got these little tactile responses, little boxes that let people know if they're crossing over and no longer on the crossing. That's four. You've then got the light comes on when it's safe to cross. What also happens is it beeps, and then that beeping, what happens when it's about to change back to don't cross is that beep gets faster and faster and faster. That's letting, again, people with visual impairments know, okay, make sure you're on the other side of the road now because it's about to change over again. So that's like 6 or 7 features that are built in to a crossing that everyone uses. And again, you won't notice it because it's not designed to aid you, but it's not affected you in any negative sort of way. It's just made it so other people can be included in crossing the road safely. Okay, so linking it back to your exam, for the most part in your exam, you get a number of different types of questions that could test you on inclusivity or human factors. Normally they're going to be a longer mark question, so 5 or more marks. They may give you a photo of an existing product. It will always be a product you're aware of. It'll never be a really random left field sort of product that everyone's like, don't know what that is. So microwave, TV remotes, elevators, stuff that you will know about. And they may ask you how it's been designed to be inclusive. So it may ask you specifically about a certain part of it. It may ask you how it could be, or they may also ask you how it could be improved. It may also give you a specific target market, target user, and ask you to redesign it for them. So it might say, Kettle, okay, explain how this kettle could be improved to make it more inclusive to people, elderly people, or how could this TV remote be improved for people with visual impairments? So those are the kind of questions that you're going to get. Okay, so here's a question. Can you pause the video, give yourself 9 minutes, have a go answering it, and then we'll talk about the answers. Okay, so it's going to how the design considers anthropometric and ergonomic features, development, and remote control like the one shown. So obviously you're talking about something you want to be comfortable and easy to use, but also if you look, it's the fact that what you've got is you've got use of different colours to let people know. You've also got raised up parts of it, so you know where certain parts are. It'll also make sure that obviously it can fit in someone's hand, and you can use, ideally you should be able to use a TV remote one-handed and your thumb presses all the buttons. That's how most people will press the remote. So what you're looking for here really is 8 marks. So really what you're looking for is 4 or 5 features with explanation for it. And I'll give you one more question sort of breakdown to it. So here we've got a microwave. The photo below shows the control panel for a microwave. Evaluate how well the interface has been designed to be inclusive to all users. So that's 6 marks. If you look at the breakdown for it, keyword there, you've got evaluate. So at the end, you've got to have a summary or an evaluation. Okay, so that is going to be 2 marks. So you've got 6 marks in total. 2 of those can be for your evaluation. That means you've got 4 marks left to get. So basically, you need 4 points to bring up about this microwave like image and how well the interface has been designed to be inclusive to all users. And it does say all users there, so that will be abled and less able bodies. Pause the video, have a go answering it. Oh, sorry. And then I'll put some of the example answers on there for you. Okay, so some examples, all buttons are the same colour. So actually, if you look at it, it's actually quite hard to distinguish what's going on. It's flat, so it's quite easy to clean, but it does mean that there's no tactile interaction, so you haven't got raised bits that mean it's easier for people to identify. The fact that it's all dark grey, so obviously we said that's the same colour, but also the fact that it's all dark grey means it's quite, again, difficult to identify what different things will do. They're all the same sort of shape. Again, you can't really identify it. The text is all black, so it's very, basically, what it's trying to get at is not a very good design, really. It's not really clear how to do anything. The only thing that is clear is you got the actual timer at the top that is clear. So we need 4 points from those. There's loads more you could have as well, but that is the end. So first one, so many products require redesign or modification to suit the specific need of a consumer group, such as the elderly or those with a disability. With reference to a specific product, explain the changes which can be made in order to suit the needs of a specific group, consumer group. Use diagrams where necessary. So this is 14 marks. So if we break it down, so first of all, make sure you pick a product you think you can write enough about. Anytime it gives you a choice, that's the first thing you've got to consider, is make sure you're picking the right type of product where you can talk about it enough. Okay? So there's 14 marks. So realistically, that's 7 points backed up with an explanation gets you your 40 marks total. So basically, make sure you can pick something where you can talk about 7 points that can be redesigned. So that's the best way to work that out. So before you start thinking about which one, so look, okay, there's 40 marks. That means 7 points I need to think about. So thinking about the product,
can you think of 7 things on that product that could be redesigned to make it more suitable for a person? Then, let's look through. So it says use diagrams when necessary. If it asks you to use diagrams when necessary, what it's saying is use diagrams. So you need to use diagrams to get those marks. So you got 14 marks. I'll give you 14 minutes. Pause the video, have a go at answering it, and we'll go for the answer. Okay, so this is taken from the mark scheme. So linked to inclusive design, the quality of the answer will largely depend on the selection of an appropriate product. So if you pick a product that's a poor example that you can't really explain, that's basically saying you're going to lose the marks. So changes suggested to domestic products such as kettles, taps, stair lifts, shower seats, bath lifts, wheelchairs, and things like that are the most common ones. To me, I think most likely the ones most people would have picked were probably things like the kettle or like telephones or keyboards. So those are probably the most likely ones. Personally, I would have picked a kettle because you think there's loads you can talk about. So what you've got here is basically, this is the mark scheme of how we figure it out. So it's on low, inter and high. So if we look at the high one, so wide and varied range of issues described with both detail and reference to specific application, appropriate to both the needs of the user and modification to the product. So basically, if we take like the kettle, and then, okay, so 7 points, but we'll take a couple of points just to explain the whole process. So with the kettle, if you say, okay, if a kettle when it's full is quite heavy, that can put a lot of weight and a lot of pressure on someone's hand, on their wrist, on their forearm. So that'll give you 1 mark because you're picking up the issue. Then talk about how could you redesign that. It would be, okay, so you could make the kettle so it could hold less water, or there's a different way of filling it up so it doesn't need to be picked up. It could be that you have a jug to take and then fill up the kettle that way, or it could be that you've got an attachment that goes straight to the tap. So that will get you your 2nd mark. So you brought up the issue, gets you your 1 mark. Then how do you solve that could then be the other mark like that. So obviously to get the full range of marks for that will be you need to have 7 points to go with that. So next question. Use a range of examples to explain how designers use colour, texture and image to improve the usability of products for all consumers. So 14 marks. So again, it says, first of all, colour, texture, images. So make sure you read the question carefully as it tells you the 3 areas it wants you to discuss. So if you break that down, 40 marks, again, 7 points with explanations. So you need to pop out 3 different things. So in reality, so it's 2 points for 2 of the areas and 3 points for the other area, and that will equal your 14 marks. Okay, so again, 40 marks, pause the video, use your text box to answer it, and then unpause it and go for the answers. Okay, so looking at, first of all, use of colour, things like green always means go, used on phones, traffic lights, things like that. Green is always a user idea, it is go. Red typically is either stop, hot, which is why hot water taps always have hot in it, or like on cooking it as hot. As to like emergency, that sort of thing. Blue typically is cold, again used on taps, that sort of thing. Blue and white used on motorway signs because it's easy to read, it's like you're not going to get confused with it. Things like yellow and black and orange used for hazards and poisons and things like that. So you think like the Kosh cupboard we have in the workshop, that's why it's always like yellow, black, oranges, because it's like warning colours. So use of textures could be things like textures on the pavement. So when you go to the crossing and you have those bumps on the roads, that's people, so when they've got sticks to help guide them, they can feel the bumps on them. Textures on mobile phones, so that's easy to grip and to identify parts of the product, so you can pick it up in your phone pocket quite easily. You may also have like braille on signs, so like on train stations, for example. If you're trying to work around, you'll find there's little dots on there, that's braille, so they can see it nice and clearly. So use of images, so standardized pictograms used at all ages can use the product. So basically a symbol for play, pause, so it's easier to understand than just having the images. So a picture is easier to read than it is wording. Use of images make the product usable in other countries regardless of language. So basically means if you're going to make a product and you need to sell it internationally, rather than just having it all written in, say, English, and you're trying to sell that in Germany, Japan, wherever, if you have images to just symbolize it, it makes it a lot easier to make it more usable worldwide. So down here at the bottom, basically this is like how you might come across it in a sentence. So texture is often used in pavements near the pedestrian crossings, so that would give you 1 mark. This is to alert blind and partially sighted people, will give you the 2nd mark because you've explained it. So if we do one for like pictograms, so Dyson use pictograms on the base of the vacuum cleaners. 1 mark. To show where to push with your foot if you want to tilt the main body from the upright position. So it's 1 mark for bringing up that point, and another mark for explaining how that has been applied. So again, 14 marks. So if you go back, so colour, texture, and images. So 2 of them, you need to talk about 2 of them, and then 1 of them talk about 3. So on this example here, so obviously you've got more for colour and then less for texture and images, but it's down to what you would pick. So next one, explain the modification and features that could be included on a mobile phone designed specifically for the elderly. Use diagrams where appropriate. So 16 marks. So I've not broken this down properly for you because I want you to have a go at doing it, but so obviously mobile phone, and you know it's going to be for the elderly. So then start to think about what some of the issues the elderly might have. So you might be looking at sight might not be quite as good. They might not be as technically savvy, so they might necessarily not be as good with things like touchscreen, might not be as confident with it. Their mobility in their fingers may not be as good. Their strength in their grip might not be as good. So all those things are issues that you can consider. So 16 marks, pause the video, give yourself 16 minutes, and then we'll have a go at going through the answers. So this, again, lifted straight from the mark scheme. So big things in bold are always for the markers to make sure it's like key things pointed out. So watch out for repetition of large for buttons or screens. So you cannot, basically, if you mention it already, you can't then get more marks for it later on. So to look at getting, say, 12 to 16 marks, so candidates will use several clear diagrams to explain the reference of specific features to the elderly. So clearly it says diagrams. So if you look back to the question, use diagrams where appropriate. Remember that if it says use diagrams where appropriate, what it's really saying is use diagrams, okay? If you don't, you're not going to get into the top mark, the top band, okay? So as past examples, so things like texture to improve grip, large buttons to increase the use of people with arthritis, increase space between buttons, backlight screen to make it easier to see, voice recognition, emergency call button, vibration alerts. I mean, there are loads of other ones you could have as well. So it's basically bring up the point and then say how that will be suitable for the person. Okay, so that is the end of inclusive design. If you've got any questions, please send me an email or send me a message on Teams.